Okay.
All right. Okay. All right. First, let's establish where we are.
Talk about the kings of Edom.
Right. All right. So we are bottom third of page Ches. Nine starts with the word Hayeshus. All right. I'm actually glad, Shmuel, that you're here today, because I was listening over the Sunday Shir, and I listened carefully to our interchange, and I was debating whether I should talk about it in the Shir or by Fabrengen, and decided to talk about it by the Shir for many reasons. One of them is because it's being recorded, so there should be a recorded answer and explanation to what took place. The Rambam tells us that the foundation of Chokhmah is to know that there's a first being, Mamtzi Kol Nimtza, but brings everything forth. There are many implications in the words, in these few words in the Rambam, a little bit more that we quote all the time. One of the clear implications is that things are there not by default but intentional of the Creator. In other words, what is the foundation for a Chocham? What is the foundation of existence? The foundation of existence, what makes existence real and convincing? Yes, it is real, is the fact that there is a Creator, not that which he is doing independent research without a Creator. And I want to explain the whole phenomenon over here. As we point out all the time, there is the entire creation, there is a human being. The entire creation exists in its own parameters. The human being in a totally different set of parameters. Like we mention all the time, that pikach, what is the pikach? Pikach echad. Everybody knows what I'm quoting, right? No, a wise man.
Oh, wow.
That there was a melech with a whole entourage of all kinds of ministers, and each one is attempting to befriend one or other minister, and each one has his own reasons why he's in commerce, so he wants a commerce minister. And then there was a pikach echad, one wise man, and says, "Ano nosif malko, I pick the king." And we always discuss, what does it mean, I pick the king? The king, you cannot approach the king with any of your needs. You can't go to the king, like I said, give me a permit to open a store on Kingston Avenue. That's completely out of whack. There are different channels. The king is in the palace. What's it mean, Anon Nosif Malka? Anon Nosif Malka means that my orientation is that there is a reality. That's number one. Things are not haphazard, things are not by chance. There is a king to everything. There is an intent. Everything that occurs has the king's imprint on it. Even though it goes through the ministers and so forth. The Gemara says that that a child coming from infancy does not recognize, does not know to call father and mother until he tastes the taste of dogon, of grain feed, of wheat, of grain food. So occasionally we discuss this. In principle, grain food is food for the stomach. But the taste of grain food is something that triggers something in the intellect, in the mind of the person. And that opens his intellect to some kind of a different kind of reality. And he is able to call father and mother. Again, please, there's much to discuss. I just want to go very briefly. The infant knows his mommy. He will not be quiet until his mommy picks him up. But that's instinctively. To know, likros, to call father and mother, that's already an element of intellect. To know this as a reality, that has to be an intellectual development on a child's level, but it is definitely a first step into the intellect. And for that, something has to trigger the intellect to that he should sense, yes, there is some kind of reality. And dogon brings that out, triggers that. We are adults, and it is incumbent upon us that we relate to the world with our intellect. And the only way to relate to the world with our intellect is on the basis of what the Rambam explains. Because that is the only way that the intellect can recognize reality in the world. Otherwise, it falls down, to the physical, and he said, and which cancels out the entire human intellectual experience of life. It is true that, as you said, everything in the world is behelem, has been camouflaged within a physical process. Everything. Because the world would not stand as a world. If there was a clear overwhelming of worldliness by godliness, it will not be a world. And the idea is that the betachtein we should recognize the truth. That's the whole purpose of the creation. And as we said, the Rebbe created the world that is mamish behelem v'hester, but he left cracks through which we can see if we are focusing on the cracks. And these are cracks. This is the important thing. This is where the Rambam comes in. If you find a crack and you say, that's human imagination, then you're stuffing up the crack. These cracks, the reason that the Rebbe created the sun in such a way that we, not we, and nothing, the whole world, does not experience any reduction of its power, any reduction of its resource, of its size. It was intentional created like this, in order to allow us, to give us a trigger, open up our mind, so that we can live in the world and recognize the world from an intellectual perspective. We can live as human beings and see things the way the intellect can relate to them. Light is light, not energy. Life is life, not interaction of molecules and electrons. This is what Torah is, and we pointed out many times. We point out in the Torah specific halachas from time to time that completely define physical worldly logic. Like the latest thing that we're pointing out, you lend somebody an object, and you want it back before the minimal time of lending. You can't have it back. What do you mean you can't have it back? It's my thing. The Torah says, no, you can't have it back. And it takes a huge human effort and intellectual effort to understand what's behind it and to relate to it. And that is exactly what this is all about. So that the foundation of all foundations, Yesod means the foundation, the solid base for our sense of existence is not physical fact. Physical fact is camouflaging this truth. It's concealing this truth. It doesn't allow us to live like human beings. And it's our duty to illuminate that physical fact and say, yes, this is the way it is, in order for the light, the God light, to come onto the lowest level. But here is the godly light that it is representing. This is what it's all really about. And the real thing why the sun is as it is for the purpose that we should have a reference point to understand godly light, to understand light in its true implication, ramification, to understand the human being. Like we say, a human being, ownership is not a physical phenomenon. You cannot understand ownership from a worldly perspective. Okay, as I said, I don't want to spend all the time. I just wanted to the point is this. Yes, indeed, Emunah is absolutely the basis of Seichel. Without Emunah, there is not the beginning of Seichel. Then the Seichel becomes prisoner in the physicality. It's not Seichel. Then the Seichel, this is what's called an animalistic Seichel. The animals also find their way around the world. And they have this phenomenal human intellect with all its gift and all ramifications. And it is really a slave to the physical world. That's not the way it's meant to be. The Torah says, Naaseh Odom b'tzalmeinu kidmuseinu, we shall make man in our form and in our likeness. V'yirdu b'dgas hayom, and they will rule b'dgas hayom v'yashamayim. U'v'chol chayim, they will rule everything in the world. And then when Odom finally was created, he says, Hashem said to him clearly, be fruitful and multiply, and rule everything out, and kivshua, capture the world, subdue the world. What does capturing the world mean? Retranslate the world with you on the basis of your insight, of your intellect. Do not allow yourself to to fall in front of it, to be subservient to it. Then you will fulfill your purpose of being here. Then you will have have illuminated the world, given the world a meaning. And if you fall privy to it, if you fall, whatever it's called, the word, servant to it, then you failed. You failed in your mission. You failed in your mission, and God said, then I failed in my mission. I wanted to have a living world. Because of the great purpose for which you were created. The great mission. I've been giving you such privileges. I've been giving you the whole world. Go and do whatever you want. Own it. Keep sure. Recognize what the world is about. It's about you, not about the animals. Somebody has not muted the phone, please don't do that. All right, now we'll continue. I said this in the bottom third of page Ches, and the line starts with the word Hayeshus. We are concluding now the principle that we said that all the esospheres that we were talking about, even though we're talking about esospheres at the highest level, esospheres where there is no Hagdorah, esospheres the Ak and so forth, all that is in the category of esospheres the Ban. And what is Ban? Ban means the principle of Ban is Metzius, Yeshus. Because Ban, Shem Ban is in Malchus, and the union of Malchus is in the Yeshus of the Melech. As we discussed last couple of days. Okay, let's continue about. Derech zehu inyan esospheres de Ban. And in a similar manner, we can understand the union from esospheres de Ban. Bebechinas his galus veyesh. That spheres de Ban are bebechinas his galus, have the element of his galus, of self-promotion, of expressing itself. Veyesh, and it is dependent on yesh. Actually, we went a little further, but it's good. We have to discuss this a little bit. Bechinas is galus v'yesh. We have to remember, in this context, the bechinas is galus v'yesh, and as we're going to continue on, you have to remember the principle that we always mention from time to time. The union of again, the Rambam, Motzui Rishain, a first being whose being is not preceded by not being. If it's a being that is not preceded by not being, this we always ask, what comes first, being or not being? In all beings, not being precedes. And the whole union that its being is the fact that it is not being. This is what makes it a being. This is his galus v'yesh. Motzui Rishain, it does not have that phenomenon at all. His being is not based on the fact that he is not being. So this is a being that does not lend itself to be grasped by seichel. What's the expression today? Wrap my mind around. There's no way. You can't wrap your mind around it. Because to wrap your mind about anything, it is necessary that you should go outside of it, where it is not, and then wrap it to where it is. Like you always point out, how do you grab a table? You go outside the table. You can't grab a table from where the table is.
This is yesh without his galus, or it's not yesh nor his galus?
I'm sorry?
This is yesh but not without his galus, or it's not yesh and not his galus?
It's not yesh and not his galus. Neither. Yesh, we said yesh is to counter not being. No, Atmos is not countering anything. This brings us face to face with this challenge. With the challenge that Eden faced at Har Sinai. And they recognized so clearly and profoundly, the only way we can relate to this truth is by Nasa B'Nishma. First we relate, and then we can start wrapping our minds around the principles of how we're supposed to recognize and act and live. But to relate to that is only directly. There's no other way. You want to relate to the truth? That is the way to. You have to relate to truth only through truth. That itself is a privilege. To be permitted to relate to the truth by direct truth, that's a tremendous privilege. That only the Jewish people got.
We relate to truth by direct truth.
But you direct truth.
Some other, and the Nasa is the going into that.
The Nasa, that's a statement. I'm there.
I'm in. It's just I'm doing it.
Right. I'm there. V'zeh in Shem Ban. Okay, continue. Actually, we'll say it, but it's good that we start a little early. V'zeh in Shem Ban, the Zayin Machen Kadmoyim, the Tehu. This is the Shem Ban which was the source of the Zayin Machen Kadmoyim. The 7 original Malachim, the Tohu of Tohu, the Ksiv Bahu, where it is written by Yimloich, by Yomos. By Yimloich, he reigned and then he died. As we explained yesterday, there was no continuity. Because it's only in the whole Mitzias of these Malachim of the Tohu represented the Yeshus of those Midas. Powerful Yeshus, powerful Midas. Spheres, but it's the yesh element, and therefore vayimlech vayomus. The melucha of beginners is galus hayeshus. The principle of melucha per se is galus hayeshus. V'zehu hoya sibas hashvira. And this, in fact, the principle of his galus hayeshus was the cause of the shvira. The shvira means the breakdown. We started talking about this yesterday a little bit. This is in Kabbalah. It speaks about the shvira that as a result of the oil as a toihu, that emphasized the yeshus of the midas, of the spheres, their overwhelming power. There was no possibility of kalim to absorb those oils. In other words, he did not permit. What's a kalim? Kalim means to translate the certain idea into some kind of an orderly action. There was no room for it. And therefore there was the shvira. The shvira, this is what's called the kelim. That's an expression. Shviras are kelim. The breaking of the kelim. Essentially, what this means, that type of oil could not stay in the oil level. It had to fall down to a place of yeshus, which is into klipa, into the world. The tchilas ha'oir hanetzal, because the starting point, the very beginning of the oil hanetzal, the oil that emanates, ho bibchinas yesh, has a yesh element to it. because that is the principle of Netza. Netza means that it becomes expressed and to make a statement of its own. That's meant Oyer HaNetza. It is not part of the Ma'atzil, part and parcel of the total total yesh, or total reality. Each one wants to identify itself. That's meant Netza. And therefore there is an element of yesh. Oh, look at this. There is Chesed is here. Gvura is here. V'kasher yorad yoyser, and then when he descended further, nase yoyser b'bchinas yesh. It became further in b'bchinas yesh. The further from its source it descended, it followed, the more of a yesh it became. This is almost exactly what we discussed in the introduction to today's shir. That the principle, you saw that, says, what is the principle of all existence? Is that there is a first being. But if we go away from that principle and we start looking into the Metzias itself, the further we go, the more yesh it becomes.
The yesh, if it's a true yesh, if it's a true yesh, so the truth of its yesh is more lemaila than lemata. Is it that lemaila there's a bittul hayesh, and as it descends there's less bittul hayesh.
As it descends,
As it descends, there's less bittul of the yesh. But the truth of its yesh is absolute, is lemaila. It can't get more true yesh as it goes down. It could just be less bottle.
I know what you're referring to, because Atzmus is the biggest, is the real yesh, right? That's what you mean to say. Yesh, Chavos or Atzmus. But we explained that the word yesh, yeshus, carries with it a very specific implication. Let me give you an illustration, question. The real physical experience of sight, for instance, putting down on the lowest level of physicality, is not sight as we explained. You see the phenomenon, you see the phenomenon. The first thing is, I'm seeing this cup, I don't see it as a cup. I see something obstructing my vision. Like this, I should have been able to see beyond it. I can't see beyond it. It's an obstruction. That's the first thing. And then I identify what is it that obstructs my vision. That means that my whole mitzvah is based on yesh. This thing says, I'm here. You can't ignore me. Doesn't speak about what is here. Why is it here? What is the message? I don't carry any message. I'm here. My message is that you can't ignore me. That's Yeshus. That started from Oyer HaNetza.
And it represents the essence. This
No.
is true.
The representation of the Etzem is not through its Yeshus, but through its message. I am Chesed because in Etzem there is Chesed. But I'm presenting it so that you should see that there is Chesed. And that becomes the Yesh combination. All right, this is it for this morning. Have a good day. To be reconvened in Mitzvah tomorrow.
does seem like we say that the
Okay,
no battery. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
It does seem like we say the very here-ness of the world, the blunt reality, the physicality of world. It's statement. It's just me. Comes from Hashem's being just Him.
True. Except the difference is that Hashem being just me, the being just me by Hashem is not because it's just me, but because that's the only truth there is. That's the reality, that's the truth. Not that it's just because it's just me. Whereas there, it becomes just me. That's what Yeshus is. Doesn't have a real presence. You are not in this place because I am here. This is what gives me my presence. What I mentioned all the time, how physics define physicality. This place is space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The thing of
No, 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 no. No, 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 no,